Borgia is sort of Oz with papal clothes. There's a lot of lust and a lot of greed and a lot of murders and other things. To me, I'm always compelled by characters that are extreme. This particular period is fascinating to me because what it is it's that moment in time where mankind was kind of coming up through the muck and the mud of the Dark Ages and rising up. And this is the kind of low Renaissance, the beginning of the Renaissance, the birth of the Renaissance. And so what you have is this story of these men and women really looking up out of the mud and going, well, wait a minute, there's a better life up there. What I've been trying to do in creating these characters is make them as contemporary as they could be without being anachronistic. And I'm trying to just say, okay, I know for a fact that Rodrigo killed this person. Now I've got to try to figure out the reasons why he killed this person. So I work very hard to make sure that no matter what they're doing, that they have some sort of moral compass that they're working off of, each character. Borgia family is surrounded by other families. It's a very kind of, the equivalent today would probably be mob families. In Rome at the time, there were 4 or 5 families that pretty much dominated the world. So those characters are all part of the dynamic that the Borgia family has to deal with. So there's a lot of characters with conflicting agendas in each episode, and all of it, the members of the Borgia family have to either figure out who their friends are or who their enemies are. Rodrigo Borgia, he is now the second most powerful man after the Pope. He has several children, and the other 2 major characters are 2 of his children, Cesare Borgia and Lucretia Borgia. After Rodrigo became Pope, his enemies started a campaign to blacken his name and to make sure that no member of the Borgia family ever became Pope again. What I've tried to do in researching the show is to dig a little deeper, going back to sources, some of them in Latin that aren't published anywhere else. I've done research at the Vatican Library to try to find the deeper truth behind the kind of mythology. The story will be told uniquely in our series from any other time that the story has ever been told. I think casting John Doman in the part of Rodrigo is going to be fascinating because John is an extraordinary actor. He's got an incredible range. He is very powerful, very funny. He can be sexy. He can be wonderfully authoritative. He's had a life experience going all the way back to serving in Vietnam that gives him, as a human being, an enormous richness of character. And I think he's going to bring all of that to the part of Pope Alexander. It's a very tricky thing to cast families because they have to look like they came from the parents. So what you have to do is you have to cast 3 actors who look like each other, but you also have to cast 3 actors who are different enough from each other so you don't feel like you have the same character 3 times. And I think in that regard, we've got 3 really wonderful young actors. So the cast is overall is very European, and I think it's going to give it an international feel, which I really wanted the show to have from the beginning. Borgia is set in Rome, starting in 1492. Unfortunately, not even in Rome can you find much of this particular period. So shooting in Italy became less of a necessity than finding a place that had existing palaces that we could use, but also with enough space for us to be able to build the things we did. So it's a lot of fun. It's kind of like going to the studios, like going to Disneyland. There's all these different rides to go on, you know what I mean? This is my first time working with Oliver Hirschbiegel, and I'm just having the best time. I so admire his films. When he read the scripts, he saw the same series that I want to make. One of the things we've talked about is really trying to, this idea of the show feeling contemporary. During the auditions, we kept telling the actors who were auditioning, this isn't Shakespeare, it's Fontana. And so it shouldn't sound like masterpiece theater. It shouldn't sound very kind of precious and elegant. It really should sound like the way people talk in the course of having a real conversation about real things. The other thing that we've talked about, which I'm very excited about, is to use as much natural light as possible in shooting, both in the daytime and the nighttime scenes. And what's fascinating about the natural light idea is when you think that in this period, people's lives were lit at night by fire. And so what we're hoping is through torches and candles for the scenes to have a very different feel to them. I think it'll enhance the show, and it'll make it seem very, very different from anything else that's ever been on television.